Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2019 Ford Explorer and I want to walk you through Highline installed Roadmaster's Diode Wiring Kit. Diode Wiring Kit is designed to allow you to get your lights from your motorhome transferred back to your vehicle, so that when you're flat towing, everybody knows what you're doing, whether it's braking, turning, or driving at night. Once this is installed, you're not going to see anything. All you have to do is connect your 6-pole plug in the front of the vehicle to the 7-pole plug on the motorhome, and your lights will function. That being said, it's not going to interrupt any normal functions when you're driving the vehicle under normal driving conditions without it being flat towed. Diodes are going to connect to factory wiring behind each taillight, and what the diodes do is they protect factory wiring on your vehicle from backfeed, and vice versa on the motorhome as well. Now there are a few different types of diode kits available. This particular one is just the wiring and the diodes. What I mean by that is this customer actually bought the tow bar that has the umbilical cord and the safety cables with it, which I highly recommend. It's called the Nighthawk All-Terrain. Great tow bar. If you're not wanting to go that route and you're wanting to buy the pieces separate, there are diode kits that come with the wiring, the diodes, and the umbilical cord. You just want to make sure whatever tow bar you get, you either get a straight cable or a coiled cable. If it's a straight cable, it's going to slide through rails underneath on the tow bar itself. Coiled cable is if your tow bar does not have the railing system so that the cable can slide through it. As far as comparing it to some of the other types of wiring processes or wiring kits out there, you have magnetic ones which will mount up on top. Keep in mind with that, you do have to set it out each time. Even though it weighs less than about 10 pounds, the batteries do have to be replaced on them. You also have there's other types of magnetic lights where you'd have one here and one over there on that side. With those are actually wired, where you would have wires that run across your vehicle and connect into the 7-pole plug on the back of your RV. If I was going to choose between any of them, I would go with the diode wiring kit because, again, once they're installed, it's completely hidden and you don't have anything you have to do. Now that we've gone over some features, let's walk you through how to get it installed. Start our installation. We're going to start at the front of the vehicle. It's a good idea if you have your fascia off to install your base plate and any other components. Go ahead and do your diode wiring at the same time. It's going to make it a lot easier to get this behind the fascia with it off. We're going to start here at the front. You can see I got a little bit zip tied to the 2 posts where I'm going to be attaching my 6-pole plug. You need to also determine where you're going to route it to the back of the vehicle, because it is going to have to tie them to your braking system wiring. So wherever you're going to be bringing those wires out, it's a good idea when you get in that area, just kind of leave a little bit of extra so you have room to make those connections. How I did it was I ran it from here, behind my bumper beam, up behind my passenger headlight, right along the frame rail, over to here, and then right along this edge, right down in here, there's actually a hole that goes right out behind the wheel well liner. I just took it, fed it down, and through that hole. You can see right there, that's going to be the hole that I came out of. And then I dropped down underneath the wheel well liner to the bottom of the vehicle. This is my wheel well liner. This is where my wiring is fed through. These other 3 wires are actually coming from my braking system. As I mentioned previously, you need to have an area where they're going to be tied in together, which is right here. From here, all I did was follow the hard lines. I took it and just tucked it up underneath of this panel. Came to here, came across, because we have another hard line over here. Zip tied it there to hold it up. And then from here, I had to get away from any of my moving parts on my suspension. So it might be kind of hard to see, but what I did is I went up. This bracket right here runs up and it hooks right to the body of the vehicle. I actually went up and around it. That'll keep it pulled up in the air. Went over top my rear suspension here to this hard line. Went over the top of it to keep it away from my mount. Went above this line to keep it up away from my exhaust. Same thing with my factory wiring here. Went up above it going to keep it away from my exhaust, to here. Once you get here, you're going to take all your wires and you need to separate them up to the point where you're coming, where you've got it closest to your wiring, where you've got it connected or where you've got it held on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to take the taillights out and get our wires pulled up to the taillights and get them connected. Next we need to remove our taillights. We're going to have two caps that we need to remove. This one you can see I already removed. These are the bolts we're going to have to take out. Take the cap out. You can take a fingernail, you can use a pick if you have one. You just pop the cap off. We'll use a 5/16 to remove the two bolts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slide our light straight back. Just like that. Then we need to disconnect our light from our wiring. These two here, we're just going to twist and pull the bulb out with it. This one here, we're going to push this black tab and lift up. And we can set our light aside and repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle. So what I'm going to do to get my wiring from the bottom of the vehicle up behind my fascia is I'm using an airline tube. It's got a little bit of stiffness to it. If you don't have an airline tube, wire hanger works. Right down, right over in this corner, it opens up. So you kind of have to go down at an angle to get down through there. But once you get it down, all you need to do is take, for our passenger side, we're going to leave our yellow wire hang down. We're going to take our white, our brown, and our green, and we're going to feed them up. All I'm going to do is tape the wires onto my pull wire. Just like that. Now we can go ahead and pull them off of our pull wire and get them connected to our factory wiring. So I'm going to start with my ground wire, which is going to be the white. I'll trim it down. Add on our ring terminal. We're going to take the included self-tapping screw. I'm going to bolt it right to the body of the vehicle. Next, we need to determine our running lights and our brake lights. Since we have a separate turn signal and you cannot use amber as your brake lights, what our kit does is combines the two. So with our brake light wire, which is going to be the brown, where actually when we run our green wire into it, it does both functions, both our brake and our turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to splice this wire. We're going to take one of our female spade connectors and put it on each of the ends. Diode, single side, goes out towards the light. Now we'll take our green wire, which is going to be our brake and turn signal. Add on your spade connector. By cutting this wire, factory wire, and adding the diode, you reconnected the circuit. Adding our green wire into it allows us to use our tail lights functions from our motorhome. For our running lights, it's going to be the yellow wire. We're going to hook up our diode the same way. Except when we get to our brown wire, which is the running light circuit coming from the front of the vehicle, we're going to cut this. We have to add a jumper wire to it, so when we split it, the wire's not going to be long enough because of how long this vehicle is. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to extend it. The extra that you cut off isn't going to be enough. I'm just using a piece of wire that I had laying around here. And what you're going to do is you're going to put them together like this. We're going to add our spade connector on, which is going to be this yellow one. And then this wire is going to be our jumper that we're going to run down and over across to the other side of the vehicle. And we'll hook our yellow spade connector onto our diode, and then get our green wire down, and then run our green wire with our yellow wire across and then back up. Next we'll attach our diodes. On the back side, there's some double-sided tape. Just peel off the back side and make sure your area is clean. I'm going to stick them just like this so that we're able to get our light back in place. Push that down, make sure it's holding well. Then we can reinstall our light and get our wires ran over to the other side of the vehicle. Now, how I ran them, you want to make sure you're away from the exhaust. We have some factory wiring right in here, right here. And I'm actually going to take a zip tie. Once I get everything connected, I'm going to zip tie it to that to make sure it stays tight. From our factory wiring here, I went through this bracket on our driver's side, and then I just used the same method for getting my wires up behind my fascia as I did on the other side of the vehicle. And you can see here, these are our two wires that we're going to be making our connections with. So on our driver's side, we determined that our wires are going to be the same. The only difference between driver's side and passenger side, as far as this install, is our running light signal. Our running light wire, or jumper wire, we're only going to have one on the opposite side. So 2 from one side, 1 on the other. Other than that, it's going to hook up directly the same. Single side out towards the light, double side goes in towards the vehicle. Once you get everything connected, go ahead and reinstall your tail light. And what we're going to do is we're going to hook our 6-pole plug up to the front temporarily to test out our light functions to make sure everything's working correctly. Now we're going to test out our wiring using an alternate power source. This is going to simulate being hooked up to your RV. Running lights, left turn, brake lights, running lights, brake lights, right turn. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Roadmaster Diode Wiring Kit on a 2019 Ford Explorer.